Hey, what's up guys, it's me, it's Joko, I'm back, and I want to make this little video on this Broly BR deck profile. Red Broly is super strong this set. I think it might be, definitely tier 0 deck if you have the right cards for it. Before we get into it, just want to do a little shout out to Greg's games. I went Undefeated last night. Shout out to Greg for holding awesome events, getting the tournament packs, and having a really good time. Shout out to George. We had a really awesome match. I really got lucky. He should have beat me, but we both were misplaying because neither of us really knew how to play. And then I guess we figured out our decks after that. Joe had a really good match with Joe. Really intense, awesome stuff. And then my sensei Miguel. The second time in my life I got to effectively wax him, but he is definitely, still superior player to me. But, got lucky, played a really strong deck, and the blue just can't really keep up with this deck right now. I don't think it's possible. Anyway, so I wanted to get into the profile here. Also, shout out to Spear Bomb for his very cool art that's on this mat that I designed, and Super Rose. These stickers are amazing, and Choto Minute for some of these stickers. Oh, these are all Super Rose. That's Choto Minute there. Super Rose and Super Rose. Anyway, so let's get into deck profile. So Broly BR, what's this guy do? So big question for a day. Awakened Demon. This demon, he's so woke. Wow, this guy, this man, he has woken. So basically what this guy does is he's when he's wakened, he's an untapped 2 leader. So when he's wakened, he basically gets plus 5k and crit, so it's always like big pressure. Draw a card, and then if one of your Brolys is killed basically by skill or KO'd, you can pitch a card and play a 4 or less Broly. So you can keep kind of like keeping your chain alive basically with your hand. So let's get into the deck. So that's the leader. On Unawakened side, you can take a life, give it crit, and you can look through your deck for a 1-drop extra card, which this is usually going to be your target, the Vampa. So you want to get Planet Vampa like kind of turn 1. Usually the turn 1 play, and then when you awaken, you got to be a 4, you untap 2, and great art. Love the art on the card. Really nice looking shiny card. Alright, so Planet Vampa, what's this thing do? So Vampa, basically when you play the Vampa, you got 1 energy, you tap 1, play Vampa, turn 1, and then you're going to use Vampa's skill. You take a life, add it to your hand, look through your top 7 cards, and you can either play a Broly BR, a Paragus BR, a Ba BR, or Golemi BR with 5k power or less among them, and then you shuffle your deck, and then if you play the card, you pitch a card from your hand basically. So there's a couple of targets that are good for this. There's one card specifically that you really want to get with this, but we'll get to that card and go through the whole sequencing. So basically this is the turn 1 play. Turn 2, you want to get your Unison out. So this Unison is really good, and this Unison, you play it, you look through top 3, you can grab your secret rare with it, you can grab some Brolys with it, you can grab Paragus with it. You really want to have Paragus in your hand. Paragus is huge, so I run 4 of these, and usually if you go first, you can usually get this guy to 7 by turn 3, because if you're on turn 3, your opponent will be 2 energy and you won't be able to play the 5-drop, but this kind of gets around that, so you can play the 5-drop off this skill and then go up the chain and play Secret Rare on turn 3. With this Unison. So basically what this Unison does is once per turn you add a marker for swap, and then a bunch of 3 of the cards in the chain add markers for each of those cards when they get played, so you can really bump this up, and if you have 1 extra in hand, you slide it under, you can definitely get this to 7. It's possible. So free off Unison, run 1 Wolfang Fist. If it gets in there, cool. There's a lot of sideboard options I'm going to get into also, but just one of these Wolfang Fists in the main. 2 Violent Rage, just because it's so relevant right now. So many people are playing Gotenks in this deck. This card really slows down Gotenks, and it really slows down a lot of other decks like Black Broly and stuff like that. 1 After Image just kind of gets in there sometime if you need it to just like negate something and minus something for a turn or whatever. This really gets in there also. But in the side deck, which I'll get into, the side deck is pretty much just like all negates. Run 4 of the Yantra counterplay. These cards are really good, especially in the mirror match when they're playing their Brolys, and like if they have 1 Broly out and then they play another 1-drop Broly to like get, they want to like get their skill going, and then if you counterplay that 1-drop Broly, like you can just kill both their Brolys, and then their chain is kind of screwed and they're gonna have to eat more life to Vampa or do whatever. So I think this card's really good in this deck. I think 3 at the least, 4 is good also. Sometimes I side 1 in or out for something, but I'm never really gonna run less than 3 unless it's a match where it just really doesn't go off. But this card is really good in the mirror match, and it's also really good against Majin Vegeta, because in the mirror match and in Majin Vegeta, you're both taking life to do skills. So when an opponent takes a life, you just play this guy. I think 2 in the main is really necessary, and this just adds that pressure. You can pressure Unisons, or you can swing lead to get them into range where you're just gonna kill them. Around 4, this super combo, I think this super combo is really good. Really strong super combo. The draw 2 is just, it's so good, especially when you have dead cards, like if you have a Unison in your hand, or if you have a negate and you're going in, or you have like one of these guys and you're going in, you just like bottom deck it and draw 2 cards. So really strong, and with this deck you're going to be at 4 pretty fast, so this is live pretty fast. So I think this is the choice for a super combo. So here's the split on the little boys. Oh yeah, I forgot. These are for little boys. So these are for the little boys that I play the super combo little boys. That's also why I play them, because you know it's cool. It's like real strong little boys, and they're gonna grow up to be really strong guys. So little boy. All right. So here's the next little boy split. So I run 2 of these little guys. These are like the set Broly. So I run 2 of these guys because it doesn't do too much. I mean, you can add pressure if you have Ba out. So this one's like good, but not as good. And I think 5 targets for 1 drop is a good number. It worked for me really well last night. I might bump it up to 6 if I get another one of the promos. But basically this guy is just, you play him and then you can swap into the 3 drop and he comes back to your hand, and you can't play him again that turn. So I run 2 because I don't think it's as good, but it's, it's a target off Vampa, and it's also, you can just use it to go up the chain or whatever. But this is what makes the deck. If you don't have this card, this is not a tier 0 deck. It's a tier 1 deck. It's tier 1 border tier 2 deck. But if you have this guy, this deck is tier 0. I mean, this card is so good. So basically what happens, especially if you can get this off Vampa turn 1. So you turn 1 Vampa, and if you have Paragus in your hand, this sequence is just crazy, because you Vampa, add a card to your hand. Maybe you add this guy. Or maybe not, and then you look through top 7. If this guy is in top 7, you're gonna play him. Once you play him, you pitch a card from your hand from the Vampa skill, but then he goes to your deck and he finds a Ba, and he plays the Ba. And when the Ba gets played, then you look through your deck and you grab a Broly 5 or less. So you can either grab the 3 drop, you can grab the 4 drop, or you can grab the 5 drop. So Ba is really essential because it finds you your pieces. And then once you get Ba out, you grab your other piece. Usually, I mean, sometimes it's going to be this guy. You grab this guy, and hopefully you have Paragus in your hand, which you could have grabbed off the Unison if you see him off the Unison. Or you may draw him to him off your life or something. But when you play this guy, you swap him, right? So this Broly's out, and then you swap into the Bonafide Sand. When this guy comes out, he comes back to your hand. He comes out into play. He's a 19k servant. So he swings, and also when he comes out, then he plays Paragus if you have him in your hand. But you can only have 1 Paragus on board. So you want to make sure that you're comboing off your Paraguses at the right time if you're going to continue going into your chain and swapping. So you want to be really careful about your sequencing, because if you play one of these and you have a Paragus in your hand and you have a Paragus on the board, you're not min-maxing. So and also depending on where you are, sometimes the servant skill can come in and you can bottom deck this guy, draw off him, and keep doing your thing. So Paragus is amazing. So Paragus, you play him, and then you can either get your Unison or you can get a Broly BR. So you can grab any of the Brolys, which is nice because not everything targets the 6 drop. So Paragus is usually going to be your option to find the 6 drop if you don't have them. The 4 drop, you want to have like as many of these cards in your hand as possible. This card is so good, and this card is the one that's going to just like this card is amazing. So anytime one of your Brolys is killed, right, if you're awakened, right, like, and somebody Yamchas your Brolys and you're awakened, you can drop one of these guys, you pitch a life, or pitch a card, and then you can play this card. So 4 or less, really great to come into this guy. Or, if you have him in hand and you just go into the Broly, the 3-drop Broly, then you'll be able to swap. But you save that energy, and then it's just going to be 1 energy. So when this guy comes in, he's going to add a marker to your Unison regardless. If this is your first swap that turn, you're going to add a marker from the swap, and then you're going to add a marker from his skill. But he's also going to make your opponent warp a card, which they get back at the end of next turn, but that's 1 card warp. And then if your opponent is at 3 energy or you're at 4 energy, when you play this guy, you swap into him, they have to warp another card. And when they warp another card, then you add another marker to your Unison. So now you have oh wait, no, you can go into this guy. Oh, I read this wrong. Whoops, my bad. Okay, yeah, so you can go into the 5-drop. You cannot go into the 6-drop unless your opponent has 3 energy. Okay, so I was ruled against that incorrectly last night anyway. Alright, so you can go to the 5-drop as soon as possible. The 6-drop you can only go into once your opponent has 3 or more energy or you have 4 or more energy. And then the 6-drop double strike crit, you take 3 cards out of their hand, so like they're gonna have no cards in their hand. You swing with your leader, crit 1, you swing with this guy, crit 2, kill him, and then put this guy on the board, and then you swing with him in this game. And once this guy comes out, the game's like pretty much over because they pretty much can't combo anymore. Everything they're going to be swinging with is less. So like once you get this dude on the board, like he's just really oppressive. So there's lots of really interesting plays you can do with the sequencing of how you manipulate your opponent's hand and how you play through these Broly chain. But yeah, definitely a lot of really fun stuff that can be done here. And I'm going to go into the side deck really quickly just to talk about the options. And obviously all these ratios can be moved around quite a bit, so it really depends like how you like your playstyle and what you like to do. But this seemed to work pretty good for me. So I have my side deck split up for playing in block and then also playing when I'm not playing block. So it's basically just a bunch of negates. So we got this Wolfang Fist, the extra Wolfangs. In some matchup, this is just a better negate to have. So like sometimes I'll side out the Violent Raise and the after image and just go for 4 Wolfang Fists. In some matchups, you really need the Violent Raise, so I'll pop out the Wolfang Fist and go for Violent Raise. And then sometimes I think I'll probably put another after image in here. The Golemite is, this card is really for this card is for Sin Shenron and for Dark Broly. So Dark Broly, this will pop the blocker, and Sin Shenron, this will get rid of the 30k Sin, which really helps because that card will really slow down the deck because you don't get as many on-play effects. It's mostly the swap. So this guy's really good for that. Also, if you know, if they play the Vegeta that like if you play a deck and they're like, oh, I'm gonna play Mass Sand, this is a really good side because you can just when they swing with something, you just choose Mass Sand and you just kill it with Wolfang. Yeah, so this is a good deck. This card is just great. I think like this card pretty much like kills Invoker because like if you see this card and they're like getting ready to go in turn 6 or whatever, and then like I mean, you wouldn't get that many turns with this deck, but like you can just stop the 6-drop. It's kind of why I stopped playing Invoker actually, is because this card, because like you could just say 6 Goku and then like there's not really much the deck can do after that. Yeah, so keep these, the Golemites in the side, and then just some overwhelm options. So depending on what their board is like if you want to get rid of their board, this is the one that's going to come in and get in there. And then if you want to just crit some life, this is the guy that's going to get in there. But really, like what I use the overwhelm cards for a lot is basically just like you can bait out counterplays. So like if you're going to go up the chain into your Broly's and they're thinking like, oh man, like if he goes up the chain or she goes up the chain, like it doesn't matter if I kill it because they're just going to replace it, but they don't know what you have in your hand and you can't even replace it. Sometimes it's a good option to just like overwhelm and be like, okay, now you got to deal with this double strike crit. And they're thinking like, okay, I definitely don't want to deal with that, the double strike crit, and they're gonna keep going up the chain anyway, so they kill this, and then you just go up your chain because they can't counterplay anymore. This is a good side deck option just to look at hand if there's stuff you want to get out of there, and then obviously Topo's a great card. But 2 energy to negate, you're usually not going to have 2 energy open to negate unless you go into a later game. So these are really dependent on how the games go. And then I trim this relative to if I'm playing in block or if I'm playing in open format. Yeah, so if you haven't subscribed to my show, I really appreciate it if you take the time to hit that subscription button and the ding dong bell so you know when I make some videos.